Hello and welcome to the third video of the Federation Class Dreadnought Series. In this video, I'll complete the modeling of the saucer. It's time to get down to the nitty-gritty, so let's get started. Alright, so now it's time to start detailing the saucer, and the first thing that I want to do is I want to boolean out the windows, and that's what all of these sticks are for. And I wanted the windows to be the same size as on my TOS Enterprise. So what I did was I imported one of the window sticks, one of the square ones and one of the round ones from my TOS scene. That way I know that the windows are the exact same size and these ships are going to scale really nicely together when they're in the same scene. It's really important to me to have everything be the same scale like that so it doesn't look weird. And as it turns out, these are actually pretty close to the windows that are on the plan. So kudos to Ali, the original plan drawer, for getting these so close to scale, because these are actually really close to the very accurate plans that I have for the TOS Enterprise. So anyway, now it's time to just boolean these out. And you've probably seen this before, but for those who haven't, I'm just going to do a little demonstration of it. So I can take this, cut the symmetry, compound objects, pro boolean, start picking, and imprint. And I'll just pick this. There we go. So now all of these are booleaned out. Convert back to edit poly. Make sure my ignore back facing is on, and I'm just going to select these without moving them, which would be nice. And I'm going to inset or extrude these. Negative 0.05. There we go. Hit check. I will apply my window material. And that's really it for the windows. So I'm going to do this for the rest of the windows, and then I'll show you how that went. So before moving on with the rest of the windows, I just want to show you something. You're probably wondering why these are at such an odd angle, sticking down like this. And that's because I want them to be as perpendicular with the surface as possible. You might be wondering, like, shouldn't they be completely to the side, like here, like on the elevation? And the answer to that is not really, at least I don't think so. And I'll show you. I can just move this over just to demonstrate. So you see how much taller it is? So this will leave a really big square looking window, and that's not what we want. We want a rectangular window. So just be sure when you're bullying out your windows, don't take it for granted on the plans that, oh, it's just going to be completely flat to the side like this. It's not going to work out like that. You're going to need to make them, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, you're going to need to make them perpendicular to the surface. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. I've booleaned out all the windows and some other things too, and I took some liberties with the plans because I just felt like adding some things. I want to have some fun with this build. So you can see all the windows are done, including the ones on the top of the saucer. These windows on the side are done. And I've also made some embellishments. I made kind of a proto recreation deck right here. And this part from the TMP Enterprise I created too, just as sort of a harbinger of things to come. And I also created this down here. I guess this is going to be like the captain's mess. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool. Sitting there in the dining room and you can look down on the planet that you're orbiting. I just think it'd be fun, so I added that there. And I added these as well. Any guesses as to what these are? That's right, photon torpedo tubes. I wanted to actually model those, so I did. And these gigantic front windows I know are on the plan, so I decided to keep them. I'm guessing it's like a giant 10 forward or something like that. So that's in there too. And I want to show you the windows here on the sides of the saucer, lower saucer. When I go to my left view, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see they're perfectly aligned. So they're straight with the deck plane, but they're curved. This is how they would look in real life as far as I'm concerned. So that's the way that I did that. And that's why I stuck those window blanks down like you saw. And I also created this guy. I don't know if you can see him here, my little biped buddy here. You've probably seen him before if you've seen my videos. He or she is 1.7 meters tall, so pretty much average adult height for a human or humanoid. and this is how I'm planning out the decks. So I want to make sure that all the decks are square and there's no kind of weird half decks or anything like that. So that's how I was able to create these windows. So just a little useful pro tip there. So now that everything is carved out, it's time to create the accessories. Okay, so I've made the accessories. I imported the phaser turrets from my TMP Enterprise build. I just upscaled them a little bit just to fit the plan. They're a bit larger in the plan. And also just to say that these are a bit less advanced than the ones on the Constitution refit class. So that's those. I built simple nav lights, just very basic stuff. Just a shape with two elements, a cylinder with a chamfered edge and a sphere. Place those around the top and the bottom of the saucer. And now what I want to do is I want to fill in this part here. I believe this is supposed to be a sensor dome. I think on this ship the bridge is supposed to be in the middle of the saucer. I think that's a change the designer made because they didn't agree with the bridge being on the top. So we're just going to go with that and say that this ship has sensor domes on the top and the bottom of the saucer. They're identical anyway. And I wanted to spruce this up a little bit. So I got some inspiration from the old USS Moscow from the Star Trek Spaceflight Chronology book that came out in I think like 1980. I had this book as a kid and was totally fascinated by it. And I always remember this weird sort of dome with these things in the middle. So I'm going to recreate this. It'll be a little bit different, but the same idea. So what I'm going to do is I'll just isolate these. And I'm going to build a cylinder. Let's see. Just like that. And of course, I'm going to erase all this. I'm just doing this part right now. All these extra vertices in the dome. Scale this down a lot. It's going to be, wow, it's going to be very thin. Just 20 centimeters across. That'll be smaller than I thought, but usually that's the way it goes with these builds. Anyway, just going to bring this out, I guess about here. And bring this height down. And now I'm going to adjust the pivot point so it's in the middle right here. All right. Good. That's exactly what I want to happen. All right, so the next thing I want to do, I'm going to isolate this still. And I'm going to make just a little change to this. Convert this to editable poly. Select all of these, and I'm going to slice the plane. Something like this. Slice. Turn it off. Delete these. And I'm going to cap this. Great. And isolate. Okay, so that should look pretty cool. I think this even could come up higher. There we go. All right. So now we use our old array tool. And I don't even know how many I'm going to make here, but that's okay. So rotate, preview. There we go. Oh, good. Okay, we got a nice little, about 5. Whoa, that's probably a bit much. How many do we want total? Yeah, how about every 10 degrees? Great. And these are going to be instances and okay. Okay, so you'll see I'm going to create a glass material for the dome. I can actually just duplicate this, just so I can control it separately. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Can barely see it. There we go. So that will be something like this. Last thing I want to do is create a new material for these. Let's do this one from scratch. This will be sensor rods. And these will just be a basic acrylic. It's a reflection of 1. Glossiness of 0.9. And a frontal IOR of 1.50. And I'll give it a refraction of 1. Set it just like that. Great. Now the thing is, these are going to be lit from underneath. This is going to look like the shuttle beacon in the back of the TOS Enterprise, the way that that's acrylic rods and they're sort of truncated and lit up. So I'm going to save that step for when I actually light up the ship, but this is going to suffice for now. So this is going to be the sensor dome, and I'm going to copy this for the bottom of the ship. Okay, so the dome is all set, and with that, the detailing is completed on the saucer section. So I made a few changes. You can see I carved some holes into the bottom, this bottom unit right here. I just cut some holes because this is ultimately going to be backlit. So what this is going to be like is this surface down here is going to be like a cloudy acrylic, and these are going to be clear acrylic. So it should look pretty cool. And again, it'll be really similar to the way that the shuttle bay beacon on the TOS Enterprise was constructed. I followed that one as close as I could material-wise, and you'll see more of that when I import that into this model because that's going to be necessary for this guy right here in front of the shuttle. I'm just going to copy that. I'll import it from my TOS Enterprise. So you'll see what I'm talking about, and it'll become clear when I finally start to create the materials and the lighting for the ship for real. So I just copied it on the bottom. Here's a bit of a preview of what it'll look like. So you see we should be getting some pretty interesting results. So that's the saucer done. In the next video, I'll start with the dorsal and as well as with the engineering section down here. So this build is coming along rather swiftly. I'm really enjoying this one, and I hope you are too. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you soon.